Maybe you can relate to this. On Monday afternoon, I drove home from work, at home early, and as I was pulling into my driveway, there were a couple of bicycles in the driveway. Now, they didn't belong to us, right? So immediately I figured somebody was in my house or perhaps in the yard or whatever. Get out of the car. So I'm heading toward my door. My neighbor opened the window and yelled. Two kids came up on those bikes and they took your son's moped and they took off up the street. And she gave me a description of them. I called my son. He came home from work. The police came, filled out the report, and so on and so forth. And basically I told my son-in-law, the police are not going to spend a whole lot of time out there looking for your bike. If they happen to see it, then maybe you'll get it recovered. But if you want that bike back, you're going to have to go out and find it yourself. He went out that night with some friends, drove around, looked over at Dotton, looked over at Satellite Village. Both are fairly close to my house. Wasn't able to see anything. Yesterday, after I left work, I stopped on a hunch. I said, I'm going to go by Satellite. I have a funny feeling. I went into Satellite Village, which is behind the Campbell Elementary School. Drove in, sure as shoot, and there's the bike, right? It's sitting there. There's two kids on it, maybe about 20 other people around the bike. Not sure what I'm going to do. I'm sitting there surrounded by all of these people in a stolen bike. They have no idea who I am. They're not even paying attention to me. So I got close enough to make a note and say, yep, this is definitely the bike, so on and so forth. Called my son. I found your bike. Here it is. As it turned out, he's on his way home, so he's not far from there. And I said, well, here's who I am. Meet me here. As I'm talking to him, zoom, they take off on the bike. And so now I'm in hot pursuit of this bike, right, in my car. They have no idea I'm following them. And we're going through around Campbell School. We're going through the Trukey's parking lot. We're going into a gas station, loop-de-loop around, back through the Trukey's parking lot, all around Campbell School, me following them. In the meantime, my son's calling the police, and I'm talking to him on the phone. And he's going around one side of Campbell. I'm going around the other side of Campbell. And the police tell us, well, we'll get there as soon as we can get somebody there because we're pretty tied up at the moment. So we kind of blocked off the street heading down towards Satellite near Campbell so that if the bike was to come back out, we'd see it and we'd be able to pursue it again. At that point, the police showed up, and I told the officer where the bike was. He went zooming down there to get it. Another cop car pulled up, and I'm like, the first officer's down there. He said, okay, we'll be back to tell you about what we find out and so on and so forth. Sure enough, they turned around, came back, and told us, yep, we have recovered your stolen property. And I just looked at him kind of smiling, gee, thanks. So they brought us down to the bike. My son got the bike and, some damage to the bike. Obviously, they popped the ignition with a screwdriver and some other damage was done to the bike. The officer let my son bring it home, let him drive it home. I followed behind in his car. And then we came back and got my car, and we went home, and there it was. Nobody was arrested. The officer said, look, we got to see somebody on the bike. When we pulled up, about 20 kids scrambled and took off in all kinds of directions. So basically, be happy you got your bike back. So I remembered back when I was a kid, and my uncle's car had gotten stolen. Basically, what the police told us was that we can't possibly assign people to go out and look for things like that are stolen. You got to go out and do it. If you want it back, you want results, you got to do it. And that's what we did. We went out and found my uncle's car and so on and so forth. So that's how I found my son's moped yesterday. We got the moped back, and it's extremely frustrating when we talk about crime. The police tell us that these things are being stolen on a daily basis from all across the city, and it's frustrating. You work hard. The kid works hard. He paid for this out of his own wallet. It was $1,500 for this moped that he bought over the summer. It was a really nice one. He modified it and fixed it up and everything else. And to have somebody just take it from your property, it was a rude awakening to the real world for him. What was interesting about all of this, too, was that when we were filing the initial police report on Monday, I told my son, get a copy of the police report so that we can file it with the insurance company so you can collect. And my son said, well, under Massachusetts state law, you don't have to insure a moped, so it's not insured. So I said, well, it was taken from my property, so my homeowners will likely cover the cost of this or, some of it. So the police officer said most homeowners insurance policies have $1,000 deductible on theft. So the bike's worth $1,500. You'll get $500, and chances are very, very good that they're going to cancel you or substantially increase your rates because you're considered a risk at that point. And that really made my blood boil because it made me remember back to another time when my fence blew down on my property in a storm. And I called my insurance agent, and the agent told me the exact same thing. It's going to cost you more to go through all of this. You'll get more grief out of it. Don't just eat it, because the same story was true. That my insurance agent's telling me this, that if you put in a claim, you are not going to get back what it's worth, first of all, and second of all, they'll likely cancel you or raise your rates. And that infuriates the hell out of me, that we are mandated to have homeowners insurance. We have to have it by law, and yet I'm told by the police and by my own insurance agent, don't file a claim because you will be penalized by your insurance company. How is that legal?